know it's been a heck of a week. I know you might feel like you need to rest for a minute, but I have to warn you that something is coming. It's going to be Infrastructure Week again. The first time Trump announced Infrastructure Week, that was back in 2017. It got a little bit overshadowed by the public congressional testimony of the FBI director he'd just fired. Then they tried to do Infrastructure Week over again. Trump celebrated that iteration of Infrastructure Week by defending the white nationalists and neo-Nazis marching in Charlottesville. Then they tried Infrastructure Week again, and that's when Michael Cohen admitted to paying hush money to a porn star to influence the election. Needless to say, we've never actually gotten any kind of infrastructure work from this White House. And after the week that we've just had, I don't know that we can take another Infrastructure Week right now, but they're apparently trying another one. Hold on. That does it for us tonight. We'll see you again tomorrow. Now it is time for The Last Word with Lawrence O'Donnell. Good evening,
Good evening,
Lawrence.
Rachel, and thanks for returning that blue blazer to my closet from last night.
Sorry about the makeup on the collar.
So if we ever get to Infrastructure Week, it's going to be really interesting because it isn't about infrastructure. It's all about the Trump version of this, of course, is all about really big tax breaks to pavement companies, to companies that are in the road building business. And it's not really about any government spending or anything that will actually produce any infrastructure at all. And so I'm kind of eager to get to Infrastructure Week. I have a funny feeling we never will. I have a funny feeling the rhythm of this isn't going to allow us to get there. It
stands in for this idea that the Trump administration is eager to work on policy issues, particularly those on which there might be areas of agreement with Democrats. Like it's a little avatar that means that. And they don't mean any of that. And so they just pop the avatar up there whenever they want you to stop talking about whatever else is actually going on in the administration. But it's like this little kind of puppet that they take out whenever they want to seem like they're somebody who they're not.
Yeah, as far as I can tell so far, there's not one sentence of agreement on what infrastructure legislation would be between Democrats and Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Rachel.
Lawrence. Thanks. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.